This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by Newegg. Whether you're building a new computer or upgrading an existing one, Newegg has all of the parts and pieces you'll need to complete your task. Whether you need all the parts to build a new one, case, power supply, motherboard, processor, RAM, hard drive, video card, all of that, or you're trying to take an old laptop and make it faster with a new SSD, some new RAM, something like that, you can get all of that through Newegg, and with their daily deals, you can get all kinds of things for one-day specials, like right now, a full gaming PC for 10% off, or a actually pretty nice little computer monitor for a great deal, and a whole lot more. And to find out what those deals are and to access all of the products that they have to offer, you can go to pilchpoint.live/Newegg. So Avram, some computers can be upgraded this way, but there has been a trend in a different type of modular design for computers, right?
Yes. So recently, Intel confirmed. I won't say they announced. They confirmed to us that they are not going to make any more compute cards. And that is really an example, the latest example of a kind of trend that's been going on across the last 6, 7, 8 years or so that just doesn't seem to die, which is the sort of super tiny computer module that you expect to use that's expected to be used in upgradable products or physically secure computers. So and when you think about it, it was a bad idea from the start. So Intel's compute card, for those who don't remember it, because honestly, few people would have experienced it unless you've been keeping up with tech news since 2017 when it was announced. It was a computer a little bit bigger than a credit card, and you could get it with, it was a Intel processor. You could get it with a Pentium processor or a Core Y processor, not super powerful, but and it had built-in flash storage and a little RAM, but you couldn't connect it directly to the monitor, your monitor and keyboard and other things. You needed a dock for it. And the concept of it was there's a couple of things that you could do with something like the compute card. One is, and this was what Intel was pushing very hard when they announced it, was the upgradable smart appliances. The question there, though, is why? So, for example, their example was you have a smart TV, you want to make that TV smarter? Here, pop out the old compute card that it came with and put in a new one with a faster processor. Well, I gotta, it sounds cute till you actually think it through. Do you really want to have to upgrade your TV's hardware? Why would you need to? What are you doing on a TV or a connected refrigerator or a washing machine that requires you to have a slightly faster computer inside of it 2 years later? And what appliance manufacturer would like to support that? Why would they do it? What's the motivation for LG or Whirlpool or whatever to put or Samsung to put these in their appliances? Do you really, if you're an appliance vendor, you really don't want those support calls about how, hey, I was just upgrading my CPU on my refrigerator, now it won't boot. B, this is something you've got to build an extra layer of, serviceability into it so that the user can remove this compute module.
Right.
C, what would you be doing to it that would require it to have a faster processor years down the road? like, is the software upgrade for your streaming software going to really require you to step up from like a 7th gen core Pentium to an 8th gen Pentium compute card? Like, what would cause that? Meanwhile, these compute cards weren't cheap either.
No.
Like the Pentium one was like $300 or $400. So, and then your appliance vendor also, if you really want people to have a faster appliance, better appliance, and you want to sell them a new appliance, it's like not to your advantage. So this whole use case of this appliance that people are going to upgrade that the user is going to upgrade with a new compute card seems like crazy on its face. And then the other idea that Intel wasn't pushing super hard, but was sort of a use case that we've heard about before, and and many other products, is this idea of the computer, the secure computer you put in your pocket. Mm-hmm. So I remember. Do you remember my old favorite, the cotton candy computer?
Yes, indeed.
So the cotton candy, I used to actually have one here, and then eventually I realized. Eventually, I was cleaning out my drawers. I think I threw it away because I had absolutely no use for it. Although it is a remnant of history, it was probably the first computer on a stick. And it was a really small stick. It was the size of a USB stick. It had an HDMI port in the front, and you could run Android on it. And, that the idea of having a tiny computer makes some sense. That's why Intel still makes a compute stick, and there are a number of computers on a stick. And, of course, they're really small computers. I got that Raspberry Pi here that's a small computer, although people wouldn't necessarily use it as their main computer. But, the idea that, hey, you want a computer that doesn't take up a lot of space, you can sort of pop it into a slot on the back of your TV or monitor and use it. Okay, I get it. That makes sense. But the idea, and this is one that Cotton Candy pushed, this is one that Kangaroo pushed, if anybody remembers the Kangaroo computer.
Yes.
And the Kangaroo notebook, that came out. Which was another sort of which was a module-based thing where the notebook itself had no intelligence, but there were little modules about the size of the Intel compute card that you could pop in and out. The idea was, oh, hey, listen, no one can hack your computer if it's in your pocket. So, forget about carrying your data around on a USB card. Forget about, carry your whole computer around, including the processor and the video card and the Wi-Fi, everything. Carry that around, and then when you get where you're going, somewhere there will be a terminal for you that is just a keyboard and a mouse and a monitor and something to plug it into. And when you leave, you'll take the computer with you. Here's the problem. Who's setting up that ecosystem of dumb terminals for people to plug into? Now I heard this, from various companies, including, the FXI, the people who made Cotton Candy. May they rest in peace. That company is, I think the people are still okay, but the company is gone. I'm pretty sure is gone.
Oh,
but
yes. I was just on their website. They're gone.
I remember them saying things like, well, at hospitals, they're going to have doctors carry these around with patient information on them so that when they leave the workstation, the nurse's station or whatever, that no one else can get that data. But that's a very short-sighted look at how people use data today. Like, everything is in the cloud. Things are in networks, particularly health data. Another example that I think he gave me was teachers keeping students' grades on it. You mean there's not a server for that for the school district? Like, right. That none of that makes any sense. People keep data in the cloud. That's how they have it portable.
Where it doesn't matter at all what hardware you're interacting with, which is the step above that concept, right? Is now with the way even when the Kangaroo and the Cotton Candy had come out, you and I talked.
Right, exactly.
We talked about that the idea was was interesting if you looked at computing 20 years back.
Right, that's the problem. It was an idea that would have worked before smartphones, before 4G and even 3G internet. It was an idea that would have made sense in like 2000 when most people did not have laptops. They were going to, if they were traveling, maybe they'd go to an internet cafe or something, or the hotel or the computer desktop in the hotel lobby. And if you were using those computers, yes, those are insecure. Yes, you probably shouldn't go onto a public computer and type and access your cloud Gmail account because there could be a keylogger on that computer, right? Yes, that is good computer hygiene, is not to use a public terminal. For personal information. That's good. That's a good idea. But people have a computer that goes around with them all the time, and they don't need to pop it into a dumb terminal. It's called their smartphone, or for more serious things, their laptop. So, this idea just doesn't make sense in 2019, and it didn't make sense in 2011 when they first introduced the cotton candy, and it's the idea that it'd be physically secure, the idea that you want a really tiny computer to take up less space on your desk, or using it in a kiosk or a digital sign or something like that. You need something small and low power. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. But the idea that it's going to be secure because it fits in your pocket is just makes no sense whatsoever. So, Intel's compute card, not only was it small, and expensive for what it was, but you had to have this proprietary docking connector to connect it. So, so that makes it even more expensive and even harder for somebody to implement. So, you know what? I don't think anybody's going to miss this project.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's a lot of the same problems that even Samsung faced with the first generation of DeX, right? Use your Galaxy S8 as a computer. It required a special dock. You couldn't just connect it to something that would work. It required a special dock. Like, you couldn't just use a cable and plug it into the HP laptop. The newer one, the lap dock, the new ones you can, but the first generation you couldn't. And so, having to have that extra piece totally eliminated the open ecosystem concept that they were pitching in the first place.
I would love to know, though, how many people actually use DeX or other things that allow you to use your smartphone as a like desktop or laptop computer. Yes, there are companies that continue to come out with, and you can still get them, dumb. I mean dumb in a nice way, like dumb terminal laptops that you can just connect your smartphone to. Every CES, I see 3 or 4 of different ones that are coming. Yeah, and most of them, to make life simple for themselves and make them compatible, just give you a wire, which means you can't really use it on your lap because you'd be trying to hold the phone in one hand and balance the laptop in the other, or something weird like that. But I still have to ask, is that a good user experience? I have yet to see a phone that provides a really good desktop computing experience. So I think for now, the traditional laptop is safe.
Yeah, I agree. I am one that, I've used my HP X3 phone and Continuum to the lap dock, and depending on where I am, it works either real well or not at all, and it doesn't have the wire problem, so I can do it wirelessly, so I can not have to worry about that weird balancing thing. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you're still dealing with the processing power of a phone. You're dealing with the network, the Wi-Fi capabilities of a phone, which is never the thing that the phone manufacturers put time and love into. It's always their cellular network they put time and love into. And when you and I are sitting at a press conference at CES, we can both say it's not your cellular connection that's going to work in that building, because the whole city's pretty tight during that time. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea, but one that just has never panned out to be useful.
Yeah, if somebody if Microsoft were to make a fully functioning Windows computer that fit in my pocket and got a 4G signal and I could make calls on, then maybe it would make sense to have a dock for it. But that would certainly not be what these sorts of compute cards and compute sticks are, because they are not portable computers. They are portable desktops.
Yes.
They need to be plugged into something to work.
Yeah, like the one that we use here in the studio for you, that for the screen over here that most people never get to see anymore. It's an Intel Compute Stick clone. If you didn't see the logo on it, you wouldn't know that it wasn't theirs. But it requires you to physically plug into power. It requires you to physically plug into a screen with HDMI. So, all of those benefits are lost. Now, is it a really snappy, powerful computer? Yes. Does it have all of those benefits that if the courier becomes real, that we could get from it? No, of course not, because it has to plug into a screen with HDMI. It has to plug into power. It requires 2 amps at 5 volts. So, you might be able to power it off of a portable battery, but not for long. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, there's no successful middle ground right now. Now I know you wrote about this, right?
Yep. So you can definitely read my whole article, which says a lot of what I said here, by going to tomshardware.com, where you will find my article on the Intel, why the Intel compute card is a bad idea that just won't die. But you'll also see some of our other great up to date coverage, including our new Raspberry Pi channel.
I was just gonna say, one of the things that I love the most and have always loved about Tom's Hardware, way longer than you've been involved with the site, is the community aspect. And you guys just expanded your forums this week with Raspberry Pi and a couple new topics, right?
Yes. So we added some new topics, and we added some new topics. I think we didn't have a dedicated forum topic for power supplies, which is obviously an important topic that we cover a lot. Just a lot of things. We switched forum technology, which allows us to add new topics, something that we weren't able to do for a while, and also consolidate some old topics. So I think that the dedicated Windows 95 category might be subsumed into something.
Oh my goodness, that is a frightening concept. Anyway, wow. All right, well, definitely, if you're interested in the topic, go check out the article and get involved in the community over there, because like I said, it's one of my favorite parts of the site.